The following talk was given at the Insight Meditation Center in Redwood City, California. Please visit our website at audiodharma.org.
It's nice to see you all. Thank you all for coming. And I was looking forward to coming together here and talking about volunteering, since it's kind of a central aspect of what IMC is. And it's one of the bright light experiences, or bright kind of aspects of IMC is it's volunteerism that goes on here. And it certainly has warmed my heart and inspired me tremendously, all the people who make all this possible. So thank you for coming, and I hope we have a kind of, friendly, cozy time together as we explore this and discuss this together a little bit. And I think the idea is to take a few minutes just to sit in silence, and then we'll have a discussion. So Max and I will say some words about this topic today, and then there'll be a chance for some discussion more broadly about it. And I want to start by saying that, make a kind of very bold claim or statement. I don't think there would be Buddhism today if there hadn't been for volunteers. That down through the ages, what has sustained Buddhism, what supported it, made it grow and be from the time of the Buddha, is the generosity of people who've stepped forward to support and help people to practice, or help create practice communities. And the story of the Buddha's awakening is an example of that. He was wandering around, searching without success for a path to some kind of liberation, and he came to kind of the end of all the different options he had, and then he decided that he would try to meditate in the way that we've now learned to meditate. And but he was quite emaciated. He'd been following ascetic practices for 6 years or something, almost died. And he didn't have the strength to meditate. And someone came along and offered him a very rich form of kind of cream, milk, pudding, or porridge or something. And someone else came along and gave him a bunch of cut grass. And with that, with the porridge or the milk mixture, we're not sure exactly what it was, he got the strength to be able to do his meditation. And with the grass he got, he made a kind of like a zafu. He made a little cushioning, a comfortable place to sit on. And so someone volunteered the first place to sit. Someone volunteered the strength that allowed him to meditate. And then back in the time of the Buddha, there was no, like there is in some countries, there was no state sponsorship of religion. There weren't no non-profits that got tax-exempt status. But it was just individuals who felt inspired to support what was going on. And that's continued for all these hundreds, thousands of years now, 2,500 years. And I think of it as kind of like the lifeline or the bloodline of Buddhism is the generosity of so many people who make it possible. And so for me, it kind of warms my heart, because it kind of inspired by the warm hand to warm hand in which Buddhism functions. And we go hand in hand, we're in it together, and we're hopefully all supporting each other so that we can all practice, so we can all find our way in this life of ours. And the example of coming into a community that's run by volunteers, where generosity is the forefront of what makes this possible here, is a very different teaching than what happens with, in a commercial situation where you're paying for teachings or paying to meditate or paying for your spirituality. There's nothing inherently wrong with charging for things and paying for spiritual life, but it provides a very different message. And the message of volunteerism, of offering freely, opening the heart, opening the hand, is one of, that really, I think really supports Dharma practice, because your practice has to be volunteer. No one's going to pay you to practice and meditate. And so it's your support of yourself that you volunteer your time, your efforts, your intentions in order to engage in a practice. And if the whole idea of moving towards greater freedom and greater compassion is something that we do on a voluntary basis for ourselves. And so having the whole system be one of generosity and volunteerism hopefully inspires a kind of open-heartedness, open-handedness, open-mindedness, where the flow of our life energy is one that flows freely as an expression of generosity, flows freely as an expression of caring and support and generosity. And that the goodness, the good feeling of being able to live that way, we're kind of just offered freely. I don't think that generosity can be obligatory. And I don't think volunteerism can be obligatory. If you're obligated, you're not a volunteer. So the kind of inherent kind of free offering, hopefully it represents what we're looking for, what we're trying to do here. So I think that there are two general ways of understanding the particular kind of generosity that we call volunteerism. And one is that it is a practice that we can do. And as a practice, it's a practice that where we get, practice means that it's a place where we grow and develop ourselves as a human being. We might not feel generous, we might not feel like we want to volunteer, but somehow in the back of our mind or the front of our heart or something, we think, I think I should deal with the challenges and my resistance and my questions and around being generous or being a volunteer. And I want to step right into that and really deal with it. I have all this resistance to, I want to discover what's going on for me. I want to kind of stretch myself. I want to I want to see how I can cultivate strengthen my compassion, or strengthen my empathy, or strengthen my capacity for generosity, or wisdom, or many things that you can develop and grow in being a volunteer. And so it's a practice. And as a practice, we hope that we can grow. The other aspect of it is that it's an expression. And as our heart opens, as we practice matures, an expression of the open heart, the free heart, for some people, is to be generous, is to respond to the world with care and generosity and compassion, and with a desire, kind of a natural, heartfelt desire to be supportive and helpful for people. And it's not a should, it's not a practice per se, but it's just kind of what arises in response to the world as our practice matures. And so it's an expression. And if as an expression, if it's not expressed, sometimes we can feel like we're kind of bottled up. It feels like it's too much to hold it in ourselves. It feels really great to just express it outward. So those two aspects, and then it's possible those two aspects are mutually supportive of each other. That none of us, probably for none of us, it's a pure expression, and we don't never need to practice again. and for none of us, it's only practice, and it's not some kind of expression of some goodness that wants to come forward. And so that interplay between practice and expression, as practice and manifestation, is a wonderful arena that can happen in the work of generosity and that we have together. Next.
Just to also express my deep gratitude and appreciation for you, that I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that IMC would not exist, could not exist without you, without what you do, and for what this place, this community has meant for me in my life. I just want to bow to you over and over. That it's. I first came here when here was over there somewhere else. When I was 21 years old, and now I'm a ripe old 38. But and one of the things that drew me in was sort of the understatedness of the place, of Gil, of the community. There was, it was. You can probably relate to this. It was simple. It was simple, and it was quite an awakening to one day say, oh, how does that work? Or how does that just come together? Or how does, I remember I was in another, years and years later, I was in another situation with a teacher, and a Dharma teacher, and the subject of money came up. And we had just met, and the teacher said, oh, well, you can write me a check, or I said, what? And then I thought, I wonder who writes Gil checks, because I never did. And it was, anyway, most of you are probably not as oblivious as I am. But there's something beautiful about that we can each sort of find our way in and discover, discover our own heart of generosity, through the teachings, through the practice, through the sort of gentleness of the community. So that was just one thing I wanted to say. I was remembering when one of my teachers was asked in a sort of public forum. There's some, this is a little more common in Zen, when the teacher stands up and takes public questions, and is sort of challenged a little bit, or something like that, and a little bit of a Dharma encounter, and someone asked, how can I help others? How can I help others? And the teacher said, forget about others, help yourself. So the student took the bait, and he said, okay, how can I help myself? Take care of others. And I think about that something about the way practice can unfold, the way practice can develop, that the sense of self and the sense of other, what is myself and what is the other, what is inside, what is outside, these boundaries start to become more soft. And maybe the sense of who I am and what I care about and what I take responsibility for starts to grow. So I notice that in so many people who undertake this practice. And for myself, I would say it's been a journey. And I think like a lot of us, coming here due to suffering in one form or another. And there can be times that, we're very much caught up in my suffering, my suffering, my problems, my experience, my sort of inner, And then the only thing with, as one of my teachers says, the only thing worse than being caught up in your suffering is being caught up in your enlightenment. So And then what is it like, the Zen moth who's just kind of circling around my own light or something. But this sort of, we all know this, and this is why we come to practice. And through the magic of this, of being in community, of developing mindfulness, something can start to shift. And it's not so much the world according to me and what I want and what I need and what's a great experience for me, but more so that we're open to being shaped, being made, being changed by the world, by others. And so something about that, the world according to me, and me according to the world, and me according to life. And I see, and one of the ways I think that can take form is a greater awareness, a greater interest in others, in community, in that practice isn't so much about just what happens on the cushion, as beautiful, as important as that is, but how we greet people when they come into the center, how we, take care of the building, how we take care of, all the little things, and somehow our practice can be expressed through that, and then in some way it's like a better barometer of my practice is not so much how many breaths can I stay with, as sweet as that can be, but am I an easier person to get along with, so something about that shift, and then I would say some way that goes beyond self and the world, me and the world. Something that's closer, that's more intimate, that's more immediate. This is like the kind of helping with no idea of helping. Just this, as Gil was saying, this natural response. You see some things on the floor, some wrap, just pick it up. And it's not really like looking around to see who saw how how good I am. And for me, that's what I see so much here. It's like it is that unself-conscious, enlightened activity, over and over again. And often we can't see it. We can't see our own light, but we see each other, And so it's like you point to me and I point to you, and this, and so we wake up together. This beautiful dance, and so in that way, it's like, and one of the as I was just talking to Angie, this feeling I have more and more that this quality of surrender in practice. There's something about deep acceptance, deep surrender to things as they are, to life as it is, and the joy that comes from that. And so in a way, as Gil was saying, this expression, it's like, it's really a celebration. It's like, I think about it, the analogy that comes to mind is that we could all be at home eating our TV dinners, I don't know, in front of I don't know if people eat TV dinners anymore, eating our McDonald's in front of the TV. But why do we go out to dinner together? Why do we, it's to celebrate. It's to celebrate. And to come here, to be together, to share the Dharma is a celebration. So that's sort of what I wanted to say, and I appreciate you and appreciate Gil for everything He's given to all of us. And I just look forward to celebrating this wonderful Dharma together for a long time to come.
So I've certainly come to appreciate all the volunteerism that goes on here at IMC. And one of the consequences of living in this volunteer world that we are in, and feeling gratitude and appreciation and love and inspiration by it all, and feel support from it all, is that I've also come now to appreciate how much of it goes on in the world outside of here. There's actually a tremendous amount of volunteer efforts that people make all over. Some small things, big things. I think that our culture would probably collapse if it wasn't for people who offer voluntarily to support and help people around them, in their community, around them, in their family. Imagine if a mother says, I'm not getting paid, and I think I've volunteered long enough. I'm going to go for a real job now, and you guys take care of yourself. It's a certain kind of, I don't know if it's exactly volunteerism to be a parent, but there's a lot of volunteering that goes on, a lot of extra, a lot of kind of stretching. So anyway, I just appreciate so much of it in our society. And so one of the hopes I have is that IMC is also inspiration for people who never come here. That the fact that there's an organization that's all volunteer, that's everything's freely given, shows a model for what's possible, and that maybe people are never going to create an IMC somewhere else, but they are going to step into their community and offer their good energy, their good thoughts, their good smiles, their care to the communities and the worlds around them, and so that we're an example of what can grow in our society as a whole. So, volunteerism as a aspect of generosity as a core foundational aspect of Buddhist practice, volunteerism as a practice that you can do, that you benefit from yourself, and then one of the benefits, as Max was pointing out, is it's a wonderful place to give yourself over to a community, to others, to support others, so you can forget yourself. You can kind of disappear in the process and have the experience of not just being concerned about me, myself, and mine, but offer. And that kind of growing and practice in self-forgetting is a wonderful thing. And then as an expression of our goodness. And for me, it's unimaginable that as people mature and develop over time in practice, that there isn't a shift, that what practice becomes is caring for others, caring for the world. That's kind of in its own time and way, and in different ways, different phases of practice, that it morphs into a beautiful expression and manifestation of our good heart. Those are a few words about volunteerism, and my assumption is that every single one of you is a volunteer somewhere in your life. Many of you have volunteered here at IMC. Some of you might be thinking about doing it. Some of you maybe haven't done so much here, but have experiences in your world, in your life outside of here. And each of you have your own relationship to generosity, volunteering. And it might be nice for you guys to hear each other talk about your experience. And so what experience have you had of being a volunteer in some form or other, where you felt that you grew in consequence of it, from doing it? How has it been a practice or a growth area for you to step forward and offer something freely into the world? Here at IMC, places of work, in your neighborhood, in your communities, in your family, wherever kind of is a good example. Or where has it been? What have you learned, or what have you seen in yourself about how volunteering, offering freely your efforts, your time, your labor, has really been an expression that flows out of you, and you're not interested whatsoever that it's a practice for yourself. You're not doing it because you want to grow and develop in the practice. You're doing it because it's just like, it's pouring out of you. It's like, or you feel inspired. I just need to do this for its own sake, to be generous, to be supportive, to care. It's not about you at all. It's an expression. So in those areas, what's been your experience? How has it been for you? What have you learned? What have you felt? What's happened to you? What do you recognize in yourself from what Max and I have said so far? So hopefully that's specific enough and vague enough that you can find yourself in that topic. And whatever is evoked for you is great. Thank you.